Sometimes you don't figure out what helps you connect with God by thinking about it more. Sometimes you discover it by trying things. Hey there, friend, and welcome to Beneath the Fig Tree. I'm Rose, and I am so glad that you're here. Hey, if devotional life has ever felt harder than it should, like you've loved God, but you just quietly wondered why connecting with Him seems so much easier for everybody else, then you are absolutely in the right place. So grab a cup of friend and let's chat. Here recently, I was leading a hike, and there were several little conversations going on among the people back behind me as we walked along. And at one point, I overheard one of the guys say this: "Everything I learned about going downhill, I learned from falling." And honestly, I laughed, but I also just immediately thought, man, that is true about a whole lot of things in life. Sometimes you don't learn by mastering something in theory first. You learn by participating, by trying, by adjusting, by paying attention, and by trying again. And devotional life is a lot like that. I think a lot of women are waiting until they finally figure out the perfect devotional routine before they actually begin. Like someday everything is suddenly going to click. Their schedule will line up. They'll have the perfect Bible study set up. They'll feel motivated and won't have any disruptions or distractions. But relationships rarely grow that way. You learn relationship by being in relationship. You learn what creates connection by spending time together. And honestly, sometimes the things that don't work teach you just as much as the things that do. So a few years ago, I put out a survey and I asked women what they struggled with most in their devotional life. And one of the biggest responses was simply this: I don't know what to do. Like, I want to have a quiet time, but I don't know where to start. And I understand that, because if devotional life only gets presented to us as this one very specific formula, then it can make connecting with God feel much more intimidating than it actually is. But we don't need more pressure. We need permission to explore. A few years back, I created something called the 10-Day Do Something Challenge. And the goal with that wasn't to help women build a perfect quiet time routine. It was just to help them to start moving again with some small, simple ways of becoming aware of God in their everyday life. Because sometimes we discover connection by experimenting and having fun. And I think sometimes we forget that God actually enjoys being with us. And so when you enjoy being with someone, there's room for curiosity. There's room to learn each other and discover what helps you connect. And that discovery, that's part of your devotional life too. So for me, that's looked different in different seasons. Sometimes lingering with scripture. Other times it's through long hikes and honest conversations with God. Often it's playing in my art studio. And I've heard similar stories from so many other women too. I remember one time a friend of mine told me that she sat down to have a quiet time and she noticed her crafting supplies nearby and she ended up spending time creating instead. And immediately she started to feel guilty, like she'd somehow failed God. But I don't think she failed him at all. I think God designed her to love crafting and He was inviting her to meet with Him there. He doesn't need you to close your eyes and bow your head to spend time with Him. Sometimes we're trying so hard to do devotional life the right way that we miss the fact that God is inviting us into relationship, not evaluation. A relationship usually grows through small moments, moments where we're pointing our attention toward Him, responding to Him, and coming back to Him again and again. And there's this verse in Zechariah that says, "Do not despise the small beginnings." And I think we do that all the time. We dismiss those small things because they don't feel significant or spiritual enough. Those small things matter. And over time, they help us become more familiar with God's presence in our ordinary moments. So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but where do I start? Well, here's what I would tell you. Start with what helps you to notice Him. not what impresses people, not what worked for somebody else in a completely different season of life. What helps you become more aware of God and more attentive toward Him? You don't need a complete spiritual overhaul to begin cultivating closeness with God. You just need a place to begin. And if you'd like some fun, simple ideas to get you started, you can check out that 10-day Do Something challenge. I still get emails all the time from women who are going through it and tell me how much they love it. Usually there's 1 or 2 days that they really love, but they're always telling me how much it's helped them connect with God. So here's your invitation for this week. Instead of trying to completely reinvent your devotional life, just choose one small way to intentionally turn your attention toward God. Just one. And don't worry about whether it counts or looks spiritual enough. Pay attention to what helps you notice Him. And if something draws you in, friend, just stay there a little longer. And if this series has stirred something up in you, if you're starting to realize that you may connect with God differently than you expected, I would love to invite you to a free workshop that I'm hosting, and it's called Discovering How You Best Relate with God. In it, we're going to explore noticing, curiosity, attentiveness, and some of the ways that God may already be interacting with you in your everyday life. So I'll drop a link to that down in the show notes for you too. And for those of you that want to keep exploring after that, I'll also be sharing a few deeper ways that we can continue practicing this together, some creative workshops, and I would love to have you there. So let's cultivate a devotional life you love, like really love and actually look forward to, because it is possible and it is so much easier than you think. Chat soon, figs.